Hello, welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. I'm speaking quietly because I'm in a room full of people, all very connected to F1, and they're all playing Scale Electric. I'm with the Sky Sports F1 team who have put together the biggest Scale Electric layout I've ever seen. Best because it's picked some of the greatest corners in F1 and put them together in one circuit. I'm standing by 130R from Japan at the moment. Go around that and then you get to Eau Rouge in Belgium. Then there's T1 from Hockenheim here as well. Casino Square from Monaco. Those are the only corners I can see at the moment. Some of the Sky presenters are going to have a race around here, and some of the journalists who've been invited, they're going to challenge them for fastest laps as well. Damon and Anthony Davidson were just having a few practice laps. It went pretty well, and at the moment Martin's doing a presentation, so I'll hush up for a moment. I'll be back when I've got someone to talk to. Damon.
Hello.
Gareth Jones again. How you doing, man?
Good, thanks. Yeah, very good.
Are you familiar with Scale Electric? Did your lot grow up with Scale Electric, your kids?
Absolutely. When we were young, we used to sit there cross-legged and sort of with melting controllers in our hands and the smell of electrics. I'm not sure they were as safe as they are now today in those days, but definitely saw the plastic melting on the controllers. And
presumably all in Rothmans-Williams colours, I hope.
No, this is going back to,
when you were little.
We're talking about the 60s here.
Oh, really? when we had those sort of punch throttle controllers, and you could get Phil Hill's 156.
There were triggers, but I mean,
triggers,
we just sit there and get mesmerised watching the things going around. Not as good as this track, though.
If you'd put a track together, would it be like this? What's missing? You've got all the greats here.
I don't think I've got the imagination to build a track like this. It's way beyond anything we could have dreamt of when we were younger. And only we didn't have the bedroom big enough, did we?
This is more than a bedroom. You'd need a palace to have something like this, wouldn't you? This is a royal Scale Electric track.
It's vast, yeah.
Do you know the length?
I know it's time. We're trying to beat this time, which is Martin's managed to practice all night. I think he's got 23.1. So
pretty good. And what's your time?
I'm way off. I got down to 26, but
what's the trickiest bit then? Where did you come off first?
It depends what side you're on. As always, one side is slightly easier than the other, so you have to learn the tracks. If you're on the inside track, it's slightly easier on some of the corners, but it's quite mesmerising, really, after a bit.
You zone out, don't you?
You zone out, and you all go back to your childhood, don't you?
Oh, yeah. It's that smell of the electrically charged air particles, ozone, I think.
Yeah, the ionisation or whatever it is.
That's it, yeah, very good. So you're going to be pitching to Tilke to build this for the next season. We need a greenfield site. We can have this.
Yes, I think that this has got some of the features that you love to see. I mean, it's fantastic left-right sequences there. A bit like Silverstone, that bit there.
That's Cops.
That's Cops. We've got a miniature of the BRDC clubhouse there and the wing.
I want this.
And the wing, even though it's a miniature, is actually still enormous.
It's very impressive. I love modelling. I've got all your cars as 1/43 scale models, so I appreciate the value of this. But joking aside, we're here to promote your coverage, or the coverage that you're helping produce for Sky for the season upcoming.
Well, I think what we're trying to do is to show that we have fun in covering Formula One, and we go into great depth, and I think the reception has been fantastic because the show's fantastic, and the people who work at Sky put together just about every angle you can cover. It's so comprehensive. It's great to be part of the team, to work with them. It's my 4th year now, and I had no idea when I first started that I'd still be here doing this, but I've enjoyed it a lot, and also brought me closer to the sport that I love.
It must bring you some of the satisfaction that driving in a team does in a championship, because you're working with a production team who are not like a race team. They tour the world, they're at the same venues, and when the flag drops, when someone says and you're live on air, you have to do it. Is that part of the appeal for you?
I think it's a big part of the appeal. A lot of it is live, and maybe you become an adrenaline junkie when you're a racing driver, but when you're live on air, you've got to get it right, and you have to think quick and say all the right things in the right order. So try
I've never managed that yet. After 20 odd years of trying, I'm still getting some of the words in the right order.
So there's been that side to it, which is good. But Formula One's a big show. It's a massive operation, and once the ball starts rolling, nothing can stop it.
I noticed that you've managed to steer away from any of the too complex technology so far. With they have the Sky Pad, and you can go from live footage to a CGI model of the cars on track. You haven't had to do that yet. Is that in your contract?
No, I haven't stipulated that I wanted to stay out of it. Although the good thing is we've got such a lot of knowledgeable people. Notably, Anthony Davidson is very good. And,
he makes it look
Bruno.
easy.
Honestly, Anthony, he's a current racing driver. He's current world champion as well in endurance, and he's worked with these cars, and he also works with Mercedes as a test driver. So in the simulator, so he's right up to speed with all the technical stuff, and actually leaves me way behind. So my angle, I suppose, is what it's like to be up there fighting for a title and winning Grand Prix, and what goes through a driver's mind. And so we try and get that across. I suppose the more psychological, kind of emotional, working with a team and the pressures that drivers are under, being in the sharp end of Formula One.
What sort of receptions you get up and down the pit lane? When you walk into the Williams garage, is there a greater gap in the door for you to walk in than any other garage?
Naturally, I've had a history with Williams, and so the relationship there is a little bit more open. But the doors are not shut anywhere, really. Ferrari are a little bit remote from us because they're based in Italy, but most of the teams you can go there and they're happy to talk to you and invite you into the hospitality unit, because it's in their interest to do that, to get the story across. So we get a chance to get them, they don't pour their hearts out, but they definitely let us know stuff that we need to know, and we can somehow use that to improve our coverage.
Looking at the results of testing so far, it seems that the Williams this year is perhaps even better shape than it was last year, and if there's a contender for nicking wins or perhaps putting a challenge for the championship together, it might come from your ex-team.
Yeah, they're definitely up with Mercedes. I mean, I would say the closest team, it'd be very close between them and Ferrari as to who's going to bite the ankles of the Mercedes teams the hardest.
And if you were a betting man, is it too early to place any bets on Constructor this year?
I would think it would be a fairly safe bet for Mercedes, and even I would say a good bet might be to put some money on Lewis getting his third championship.
Well, another British champion would be another thing. I enjoyed it when you won. Enjoyed it when Lewis won twice, so let's keep that going.
Okay, thanks
Damon. Enjoy the season.
Cheers.
There, found someone to talk to.
Ted.
Hey, man. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. You got a minute? You want to eat that first?
Of course.
Yeah.
No, let's do it while I'm eating.
Are you all set? Are you prepared? Because you're about to vanish from your lovely family pretty much for 6 months. Yeah.
Can I have this gummy bear?
Yeah, go on.
My daughter's become obsessed with, this as a father of 2 boys. You don't. Girls are obsessed with this thing called the Gummy Bear, the song.
Yeah.
Do you know about it?
I know the Gummy Bear song.
Gummy Bear.
It's passed through YouTube many times. My younger son gets mindworms, and that one's been in his head for at least 2 years, I think.
Your boys are all grown up now.
It's frightening. They know more about Formula One than me.
No.
Well, the big one does. He's very knowledgeable. He asked me, and I have to check facts now. Oh, hang on.
Is he still a Red Bull fan?
No, I think he's probably moved towards Williams, quite frankly. I think Bottas has enchanted him somehow, because he's no bother. Bottas is consistently there, isn't he?
But that's not a phrase you hear very often, is it? Bottas has enchanted me.
Yeah, I know.
In many ways, that's my issue with Bottas, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a killer instinct from him yet. All right, yes, he'll go and do exactly the same lap time that the computer says is the one that you want to do to be second or first or whatever. But we haven't seen that killer instinct yet.
He's consistent at the moment. But I don't know, maybe...
He's obviously very good.
What do the Finns call it? Sisu, where they hold it all together. Yes. I think he's a late developer. He's had a few seasons now to get his feet under the table. This year is the opportunity, or perhaps the time, he needs to prove himself over Massa, because Massa did well last year, didn't he?
Were you watching the same Massa as I was?
Well, for Massa, he did very well. That's the point. He made Bottas look conservative sometimes.
That's true. I did like Richard's description of, what was it, swarthy waiter?
What?
Of Massa.
Of Massa.
Richard's description was swarthy waiter. I think it was the hairstyles that he was going with. Where's Zog, by the way?
Zog is otherwise engaged on space projects at the moment. He's been doing work for ESA. So he's on the only other technology that appeals to us apart from cars, rockets and planes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You all set then? You're going away for, what, 6 months from your family, pretty much?
Well, the silly thing is that because Australia isn't back-to-back with Malaysia, I'm going to Australia for some days of 5 days.
Oh.
Yeah. So arrive on a Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leave Sunday night. So 5 days. That's just enough time to do the job buy some special ointment in a red tube from Brisbane. Do you know the stuff?
No, I can only
it's
imagine.
a papaya. It's a natural ointment that soothes and cleanses, and it's made from sort of reduced, boiled down papaya. And I forget the name, but anyone who goes to Australia will know. It's in a red tube, and it's from Brisbane.
And where do you apply this?
Mostly to my children's cuts and bruises.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's very good. It cleanses and repairs skin. If you've got any dry patches yourself,
I have actually.
just rub a bit of this on
What's
the
it called?
ointment.
Do you know? I'll find out.
It's the Australian stuff in the red tube. You go to any chemist, any Australian one.
Someone will tell me, having heard this on the
It's
program.
like O'Neill's or Orion's. Or,
So that's the highlight of the early part of the season for you,
Exactly.
buying
So I need to pack
ointment.
all of that into the suitcase for the kids. My missus wants a couple of design and architecture magazines from out there, so I'll go out on Wednesday and do that, and then cover what should be, well, apart from Mercedes being a 1-2, a fascinating first Grand Prix. Mm-hmm. Where do you think we're at? I think we're at exactly where we left off in Abu Dhabi.
Well, that's
Precisely.
what always happens.
Yeah.
You know, the first race of the season is invariably last season part 2, I think.
Yeah.
Whether it will be Nico who has the upper edge this season over Lewis, that's the real focus at the moment. Damon was just saying, we all know Mercedes are going to do terribly, terribly, terribly well.
Yeah.
But which Mercedes? The fact that you've got a Brit and a German battling again, it's great for the sport, because these are the power centres of the sport in Europe still, in my opinion. This is where the people are. And it's an old battle. It's an old needle that goes on, and that's great for the sport. It adds to the backstory of the whole thing.
The question mark for me is, what's going to be the random element that stops the guy being on pole, going off and leading every race and leading every lap and winning a race? So if that carries on the story from last year, Rosberg, I don't see why he shouldn't have lost any of his qualifying speed.
Yep.
You know, might be on pole a few more times than Lewis, and Lewis was still pretty good, but you know, he's worked on that in the winter. And then he should, or could, lead every lap and then win the race. What's going to happen? And that's what we love, isn't it? It's those little bits of unpredictability. It's a bit of traffic here, it's a puncture there, it's
A failure of MGU.
locking it up or something like that. Because I don't see why there should be any change in what we saw last year, which is that Hamilton's the better racer.
True. At the start of last season, I thought it was going to be Nico's slightly more conservative approach, which brought him a championship, and it turned out that it was Lewis's more aggressive qualities were the right thing in the new cars. We didn't really know there was a culture change, wasn't there?
Yeah, we were all thinking that it was Nico the engineer,
Yeah.
Nico the thinker who would come to it, and indeed he was Nico the thinker, but it wasn't actually able to do the business in the race. I still wonder how much that team radio coaching ban hurt Rosberg, because after it was introduced in Singapore, Rosberg didn't win any races, and Lewis won all of them apart from one, Brazil. Didn't he? After
Is there a
Singapore-
correlation here, perhaps?
Yeah, Brazil Rosberg won, didn't he? But apart from that, after Singapore, Lewis won all of them, including Abu Dhabi.
So, aside from a Mercedes whitewash or silver wash,
Can I do one more thing
Yeah.
to point out with? I'm just going to get my next snack out of the bag,
Lovely.
which is a packet of Maltesers. Kimi. Did you see their race simulations, Ferrari race simulations, on the last 2 days of Barcelona final test? Kimi was
second fastest in the speed trap.
He beat Vettel.
Beat Vettel.
So his race simulation, had that been a race, of course it was over 2 days, so you can't really compare it, although I am. Kimi was ahead of Vettel. What
We'd like
an
that.
upset would that would be.
Oh, no. Well,
What would we all think about Vettel if Kimi beats him this year?
Well, I love Kimi,
Sure, so do I.
and I always imagine that Kimi's greatest days are behind him. You know, his young, energetic flair, and put up against Alonso last year, he didn't look great. But I have faith in Vettel. I think Vettel can drive a very engineering-led race really well. You know, he integrates the way he drives with what's needed from the car. And so I thought, you know, an intelligent driver at Ferrari would be the right thing, and Vettel would absolutely thrive. That's a bit of a shock.
Yeah,
It says more about Vettel than it says about Kimi, do you think?
Well, let's see. Listen, because I love Vettel, and he's obviously trying to do a shoey there. I think it's admirable. I think he's really applied himself, and I was so impressed the way he came into testing. Yeah, picked the team up by the ghoulies, if you like, and said, "Don't worry, lads, I'm with you now." we're going to do this together, we're going to pull this team out from whatever crevice we're in, and I'm going to give it 100%, because clearly he's a man who understands percentages, which is refreshing in Formula One. And we're actually going to go for it. And that's staying late, that's carrying around his little notebook that he makes notes in, that's doing everything, clapping the mechanics on the back, thanking them for their work. And yes, Ferrari have been at pains to try and say everything's happy, and let's see if that disappears after they have a first disappointing race. But I am full of admiration for the collaborative, motivating job that Vettel's done at Ferrari so far.
He worked with Michael Schumacher enough. He raced with him in the Race of Champions. He knows Michael well. You're absolutely right. He's trying to do a shoeing. If he models his approach on how to work with Ferrari using the same Schumacher model, ideally he needs half of Red Bull with him as well, the team, because when Schumacher went to Ferrari, he took the Benetton team with him effectively, and that made that possible. It grew and changed the team. Now Ferrari have been in a state of flux for 5 years, haven't they? They have a turnstile or a stable door that's constantly evolving, people coming and going. It's stability and the right people that are going to change it. Is it going to happen this year?
I think it will take a while. I agree with you, but I also like every change that Maurizio Arriva-Bene.
You took the words. You have the same mind as me, exactly. Comes well.
So I hear. And every decision he's made, I really like. I like changing the design department. I like bringing Rory Byrne back. I think that's a cool move as a kind of mentor to their new young designer, Simone Resta. I like freshening up the engineering department. Never mind freshening up. They got rid of all of them, didn't they? And they've got Dave Greenwood in from Marussia. They've got Riccardo Adami, who was Vettel's engineer at Toro Rosso. They've got him in as well. You know, I like that. I like Jock Clear on the pit wall. You know, a guy who is all about nuts and bolts engineering. Won the title with Villeneuve back in 1997. It must be difficult for him to go to Ferrari. Weird for him to go to Ferrari, seeing as they were the dread enemy in 1997, weren't they, when Schumacher ran Villeneuve off the track in Jerez. But still, I like every change that Maurizio has made. I hope it works.
We all do. We all want Ferrari to do well. We love them, we hate them. We want them to be the team to beat. Yeah, we want it to be close. They're not close enough yet to Mercedes, are they? And they won't be. Not for a few years.
No, they won't. And, you know, let's not kid ourselves. This is going to be another Mercedes walkover with a great battle between Hamilton and Rosberg. But I don't know. Who do you think the other surprises are going to be?
Williams will get wins, won't they?
Well, you hope so. But then we said this last year and it didn't happen, very disappointingly. Lotus, I think they'll surprise. Toro Rosso,
Maldonado always surprises.
He'll surprise. You know, Toro Rosso to an extent, I suppose. I'm interested to see what Max Verstappen and Carlos, don't call me Junior, Sainz Junior.
I reckon Damon's going to give Carlos the hardest time of anyone in the paddock this year.
Why? What's he said?
Because Jake raced against Carlos Sainz Jr. What was it?
Jake Hill.
Was it Formula 3 UK? I can't remember. British Formula 3.
Right.
And he did very well. So I reckon Damon will be in there digging.
Okay, all right. Well, I met him. I did a little bit with him in testing, and he's a nice guy. Don't call him Junior. He's like Indiana Jones. Strangely. But anyway, we'll see.
You looking forward to it?
Yeah, I just want to know if Fernando's all right. I'm a bit worried about him, really. Everything post-concussion, I understand. You know, that you can get hit on the head and still feel a bit woozy, even a few weeks later, and I can understand why he doesn't want to go to Albert Park, a place with a lot of concrete barriers. So, you know, you could have a similar accident again, and that would be very bad for your brain. But I still don't really understand what happened to cause the accident itself.
We don't know yet. No one said anything. McLaren have been very obtuse about it. And it seems a very long period. Usually drivers get, 2 weeks if they've had a concussion over a certain level and then they're back in the car.
Is it? Yeah. But how long is it for rugby players? Is it 3 weeks or 4 weeks?
I wouldn't know, I'm afraid.
Something like that.
But hey, you know, the backstory continues. We've got Mr. Magnussen in the car again, which is the universe setting itself right again, isn't it?
I know, I love that. After all the schmozzle, as my grandfather would say.
Schmozzle.
After that whole schmozzle, then they end up with the same drivers, having annoyed them both, and then getting rid of K-Mag, or as Ron Dennis referred to him in that strange McLaren press conference when they were announcing it, poor sad Kevin.
Did he actually say that? No, I missed that.
I was watching it. Ron was talking. They were there. There was Button sitting there, and Alonso sitting next to him, and Mr. Arai from Honda, and then Magnussen was on the end. And of course, nobody from the press was asking Magnussen anything. And Ron was talking, and he said, "And anyway, look at poor sad Kevin over there. You know, no one's asking him any questions." And everyone was like, Well, steady on, Ron.
That's going to stay now, isn't it? Awesome. Looks like we're on to something else here now, Ted. We've got to move on to... But man,
do you want to have a
love a Malteser?
Okay.
Thank you. Other sweets are available. This is not represented endorsement by Gareth Jones on Speed, but it is one of Ted Kravitz. Ted, man, it's great to see you.
Good to see you.
Enjoy the season.
Cheers.
What are you eating, Tedos? Maltesers? Definitely. Never say no to food.
I just took two as well.
Did you?
It's like chocolatey flavour. If
Lovely.
you kiss me, you'll get it.
Oh.
Hello. Natalie, you don't get long with the drivers. It's always your gig when they're walking from the loo. You have one question.
The loo stalker.
Yeah.
Yes, I just hang outside men's loos.
You get one
Glamorous.
question with them, you know. How much of that is spontaneous? How much is that is...
Well, it's all got to be spontaneous because you never know who you're going to get, and there's often a bit of legging it to get to them. And also, half the time, the last thing they want just before they're about to race is a mic shoved under their nose, and I don't blame them. But it's quite interesting, I think, as a fan, just to hear their reaction, see what kind of frame of mind they're in. Some of them are very happy to chat. I kind of know who are and who aren't now, so there's some that I don't even bother approaching.
Who's the worst? Come on, you can tell me.
At that stage, before the race...
Lewis is very good, isn't he?
Well, Lewis very rarely talks at that stage. Fernando, Kimi, never talks. I think I've got one answer out of him.
And even
once.
when he does, we can't work out what he's saying.
I know. Quite like that, though.
Yeah.
It all builds up to part of his character, doesn't it? But Daniel Ricciardo always chats. Jev always chats, but obviously he's not going to be there.
Jensen's good with you.
Jensen's great. They're all great, but I can totally understand that at that stage before racing, they don't want to talk. And say Martin finds it on the grid walk. Just depends who he stumbles across.
It's a difficult gig. I know I've done some pit lane reporting,
Yeah.
not at your sort of level. What is the most difficult aspect of it? And your life has changed quite dramatically
It has.
recently.
I just nipped home to feed my baby, actually.
He or she? I never.
He. Little Wilfred, yeah.
3 months old now? 2 months?
No, 6 weeks.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
My gum, that's fresh still in the wrapper.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
That's going to make it tricky this year, isn't it?
Yeah, well, do you know, Sky have been incredibly supportive. I think they're all for mothers back in the workplace and supporting them. Wilf is a huge F1 fan, obviously, and he's coming to the races with me. So I'm doing all the European races with Wilf and my mum. My mum's going to look after him while I'm at the track.
You'll have your own trailer now, won't you?
Yeah, well, listen, there are loads of dads in F1 now.
Yeah.
Kimmy's just become a father. Sebastian's obviously a father. Pastor Maldonado. Massa.
Pitch to Bernie.
Yeah,
the
crash.
F1 crash. Yeah,
I'm going to do it.
The Pinkham
And
crash.
There'll be a few drivers in there too at this rate. Max Verstappen.
Max.
Yeah.
I think he's too young to get in there.
Probably.
Ah.
But it's great fun. Obviously, my life's changed. My priority is, of course, my son. But I still love Formula One and I still love my career. And if there's ways of combining the two, then it doesn't get much better than that, does it?
No. The life-work balance is the key to true happiness.
There you go, yeah.
That and good curries, I was once told as well. So.
Oh.
But Natalie, such a big fan.
So lovely to
Enjoy
see
the series,
Thank
the
you very
season.
much. I got Wilf's passport actually yesterday. He had to have a little photo taken. They kept his eyes shut for the whole thing.
Perfect.
So sweet.
Remaining discreet at all times.
Yeah.
See ya.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you.
Martin, here we go. We're about to launch into how many seasons as a broadcaster for you is this now? What, 12?
My 19th.
19?
Yeah.
Get out.
No,
Really?
19 years.
How did
Yeah.
that happen?
Well, I last raced in 1996, so that's how it happened.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
And in the build-up to the season, do you still get the juices flowing? You know, as a fan, the rest of us, the fact that we just had 6 months without a race, when it finally gets the first race, there's a great relief, right, we've started, we're getting on with it. Do you still get that sort of emotional roller coaster, or is it just a professional thing now?
No, I mean, it's a bit Groundhog Day in terms you go to the airport and land in Tullamarine Airport in Melbourne, but I love it. I walk into the hotel, then I go and pick up my pass for the season, and it feels brilliant. I'm really excited about it. It's my 32nd year around Formula One, including being a driver. So, yeah, and it feels like back to school, you know, first day of term, really getting stuck in and what's going to happen. There's always something to talk about. There's always something exciting or unusual going on. So, and live TV gets the adrenaline going a bit. My grid walk, for example, definitely does. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
What is going to be unusual or exciting this year? Is it Vettel in a Ferrari, the chemistry there, or the cork that's going to pop at McLaren when eventually the truth about Alonso and Ron pops out? There's got to be a tension there that's going to give, isn't there? It's all about the backstory as well.
Well, let's hope they have a chance for attention. You know, Alonso's not in the car in the first race. He's missed a test as well, so we're concerned about what his problem is since that incident in the Barcelona test, Fernando Alonso. So let's hope he's in the car and he's got a chance to fall out with Ron. I think they've both mellowed a bit since then and got different needs now. And don't forget, the main catalyst to the problem was that Lewis Hamilton was there. He was the new kid on the block and he was just too fast for Fernando at the time. Fernando thought he was clear number one and suddenly he realised he didn't have a number one spot. So different circumstances, but you know, Mercedes look like they're going to dominate again. It should be a hell of a fight behind them though, between Williams, Red Bull and Ferrari. McLaren will improve through the season, the midfield, Lotus with the Mercedes engine now, Force India with the Mercedes, they're looking quite strong. Sauber with the new improved Ferrari engine. So plenty of good racing through the field. I just hope that Mercedes will completely unleash Rosberg and Hamilton to race wheel to wheel for the whole season.
The fairy tale story would be Will Stevens winning the first race in the manner what was Marussia.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, but that kind of thing has happened in the past. Jensen's Championship, you couldn't have made that up. The Brawn Championship, you couldn't have invented that. What is the most exciting thing that you would hope to happen this year? That could happen, given the backstory.
I mean, obviously Ferrari winning races again. I think that'd be unusual if they win a championship this year, but how good is Max Verstappen, for example, and Kvyat moving up into the Red Bull? There's stories left, right and centre. Don't think Marussia will be winning the first race, you know, even if they're there, but there'll be something mad going on because it's Formula One and it happens. And you know, standing here in March trying to guess, I mean, my last flight home is booked on December the 1st and there's an awful lot going on between now and then.
It's going to be a busy time. What's the busiest period for you, the flyaways or the European season or the end as a broadcaster?
It's Silverstone's the big one for us. We do a lot of stuff there. The first few races, then it settles down a little bit, but we're on air 14 hours a weekend live, and plus all the other stuff we do. So from Thursday morning till Sunday night, we're absolutely flat out at the Grand Prix. Then we make a lot of, as we've been doing this week, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, viral stuff. We make a lot of that material as well.
And you must get on with these awful people that you work with, otherwise you wouldn't have done it for so long now.
I tolerate them. Yeah, no, we think the Formula One fans who watch Sky F1 know that we're all good mates, genuinely good friends, and we enjoy each other's company. We enjoy travelling the world together, and that bond is growing. There's no doubt about it.
Martin, great to see you on the show again for another year.
All right, good to see you.
Beat Murray's record.
Maybe.
My old mate,
See me.
Johnny Herbert. Hiya, mate. How are you?
Doing very well.
Did you have scale electric as a kid, or did you go straight into karting when you were 4 years old, wasn't it?
I don't believe we had anything in the loft. I lie very well. Yes, I had it in the loft. It was full of scale electrics. And I did one event where I didn't wake up early enough to go to a karting race. And we thought, what the hell are we going to do now? And I think in Wood Green there was a South of England championship. So
Really?
I turned up with my old JPS Lotus I used to play with, and I finished third.
Good lad. On your debut.
Exactly. So, and then when we arrived here, the competitiveness arrived. Brundle's up there now, and the competitive instinct's there, because I'm still number one at the moment. I don't know if he's going to beat me, but he's trying very
Has
hard.
to beat you, hasn't
Yes,
he? He's putting
trying
the time
hard.
in, he's doing the work.
Yeah.
Because it's all about getting the faster time, and it's one-upmanship. You're a sportsman, that's how it
It
works.
doesn't stop.
No, ever.
It really doesn't stop. But no, this is great, because it was always a good thing, actually. I always thought it was very good for the mind, because it was another feeling you had through your fingers again, which
Yeah.
is the same as driving. So I think it was a good thing to do.
You know, this GT Academy that Nissan did, where
Yeah.
they found a bunch of video gamers and
Yeah.
brought them up. You could do it with scale electric guys, couldn't you? Well, 40 years ago you would have done, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, there's an element of it. I think there's always someone out there, Gareth, that is probably better than Lewis Hamilton. It's just how you find them.
Yeah, yeah.
Through different things, as you said, doing it through the GT Academy or maybe doing it through a scale electric race. You never know, because they do exist somewhere.
So given that, how good is Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz Jr.?
I'm a fan of the youngsters, and I'm a fan because they are brought up in such a different manner than I was, what Damon was, even Martin as well. And I think now they're much more competent because they're aware of how to look after themselves fitness-wise. They know how to look after nutrition. They know all about marketing because they've been taught it from a very, very young age.
Yeah.
So the criticism of Max coming in at 17, it's too young, it's not good for F1, it looks bad, I disagree, because at the end of the day, I think he'd be prepared enough and he'd be more than capable of doing a very, very good job. Just because the way he's come through the karting and other formulas to get there.
He's got a sensational record already, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I always think that, the business of F1 is a very conservative industry because there are such huge figures at stake. There's a lot to be won and lost in terms of the business and promotion and all that.
Yeah.
You can't really take a risk. It's a calculated risk when you choose a young driver like that. They know he can do it, don't they?
You choose a good one.
Yeah.
You obviously don't choose sort of an average one. They always stand out. Now, if you go back to sort of the Clarks and the Stewarts and the Lauders and Fittipaldis, Piquet, Stenners, Prosts, Schumachers, Hackeners, they always stand out, and so you always sort of know there's something special about them. That's why we've got Lewis now as the world champion, because he's got that little specialness to him, and McLaren saw that a long, long time ago when he was young, and they brought him on and they got a world championship together. Now he's got his second, going for his third, so it's something that's getting younger. Yes, I don't think it's a bad thing at all, and I think Kvyat, for example, going to Red Bull, still a young boy as well, he will show how good he is at the same time. Does he look out of his depth? No, he doesn't. Does Verstappen or Sainz look out of depth when they've done the testing? I think little Carlos Jr. had a little off in Barcelona.
Yeah.
But Verstappen has been very competent in the Fridays he did last year, and he hasn't made hardly any errors at all. One very small one, I think it was, in Gareth. But overall, they don't make those errors anymore because they're just a different breed.
You were never in the Benetton team the same time as Jos Verstappen, were you? Did you get his seat? Yeah, that's right.
Jos, yeah.
I know Jos from A1 GP when he was driving for the Netherlands, and he's a pretty hard, uncompromising guy. I love him to bits. He was the greatest interview in the pit lane. He genuinely told it like it was. He's going to be his son's greatest critic, isn't he? It's going to be tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to a degree, but I think although Jos is a bit of a sort of a bully boy when he was even on the track, he never gave up, he was always push all the time, but he's also very aware that when you do see talent, even if it's not his son, you can see that things have changed, things are different nowadays than what they were before, and he can only help him, support him. And when I've seen him around even last year, he wasn't there being sort of in front of his little kid, because he was there sort of just supporting him and helping, not telling him what to do, you do this and you do that, because he knows, like I know and you know, where you are your own person. You have your own style. You don't change someone's style to your style because your style may not suit him. And I think he's just very good to be there as a good dad and supporting. He will surprise many this year. I think the youngsters will be a very, very good. They're the future for sure.
Yeah, we need the new blood every year. We haven't got very many new teams at the moment, so new drivers is the new stuff coursing through. Yeah, you've done this how many years now for Sky? 4?
It's the fourth
year.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to this year and being away for so much, as much as ever?
Yes, you wait for the testing to start, and I remember as a driver it was always exciting to get sort of behind the wheel again after probably a shorter break than these guys have, but they've gone out. We've seen the Mercedes looks very quick again, probably we expected that, but the battle between the two drivers is just going to be as hot as it was last year. Some people are saying, is it going to be a little bit easier to control, manage? No, of course it's not. They're drivers, helmet on, visor down, they're racing for themselves, so that will carry on the same. The gap, I think, is a little bit smaller. Williams did very well at the end of the season. That seems to have continued, so they're probably second best, it looks like, at the moment. Ferrari look better, Sauber look better, Red Bull, we don't really know. And then the Toro Rosso looks a little bit better with the youngsters in.
Everybody looks better.
Except McLaren.
They're
the ones who are really suffering big time.
I was wondering about this. McLaren, they're playing a long game here. They're talking about having a car that's not going to be performing at its best until the European section of the season. There aren't many teams in the pit lane who can afford that sort of luxury of a long view. Most teams are struggling almost on a race-by-race basis to turn up and pay the bills these days, aren't they?
They are, yes. We know what happened at the end of last year with Caterham and Marussia, and it looks as if hopefully Marussia Manor will sort of be in Australia, which is great. I think they're very important to have those small teams in there because they do give chances to people like Fernando Alonso, world champion. They do give those chances to Mark Webber finishing in the points in his first Grand Prix in Australia, again with Minardi. So those small teams have brought on some very, very good talent. So we need them there. But it is tough, and for McLaren it's going to be tough. But of course, I'm sure they're aware, I'm sure Ron's aware, like Williams, who were at the top of their game sort of in the 90s, you can lose it very, very quickly, and then you struggle to get back. We know the difficulties they've been through to sort of be competitive, and they've come back. Okay, maybe they're second best at the moment, but second best is not winning, and that's where things really do generate the sponsorship and the money that you need to go racing. So even with McLaren, yes, they've got Honda on board, which is great. Yes, McLaren, Ron Dennis, and we know his history, which is fantastic with the success he's had, but it all needs to come together, and we can look at it now, we can criticise it, all the problems they've had, it shouldn't happen because it is McLaren, but I think in the long term there is a very good chance that that package will be very, very strong. I know Berger came out the other day and said that Alonso will win and the McLaren as world champion, so there's a lot of belief out there as well on the outside, but there's a lot of belief, I'm sure, within the team at the same time. But as we know, the competitiveness probably more than it's been for many a year, and it's going to be very hard for McLaren to get itself back into winning ways and winning championships.
Yes or no? Are they going to do it this year? They're going to win a race?
As we are at the moment talking, no, not at all. I think they're going to be too far behind. But as far as what Mercedes can do and what the other teams can do, we've got these little tokens now with the engines. That can change very, very quickly, and that can make the competitiveness of everybody else move towards Mercedes. It's possible, yes, but I think they won't be in that position this year, I doubt.
Johnny, you'll be in your usual position. I'll be in the usual position, sitting in front of you on television, telling me exactly what you're telling me now, but from a race. I look forward to seeing it.
Great.
Good to see you.
Enjoy it. You too.
Thank you.
Oh, right, okay.
This is great. The shoe is on the other foot. The only opportunity I get to talk to you, Crofty, is on the move from your expansive playground to your... Where are you going?
I've not even had a go of the Scalextric yet. It's absolutely shocking.
You're saying it wrong. Scalextric.
Scalextric, right.
Yeah.
Thing is, this is the time of year where I stop being managed by Mrs. Croft and I now start being managed by Mrs. Pinkham, basically, and who's now stopping to talk to somebody else. So it's like Freshers' Week. We're meeting up with all our mates. It's like a new school term is starting, and now I'm in Natalie Pinkham's hands for the rest of the year.
It's already started for you, hasn't it? You're having to think and construct ideas about how this whole season's going to go and what you're going to do about it. When does it stop for you? Does it take like 3 weeks to wind down?
No, it never stops. You never have a day where you don't read up about Formula One and keep an eye on what's going on within this wonderful world. Come with us. We're walking through the corridors. You see the plush corridors here of the Sky Building.
I hope I'm going to be able to get back in here.
Yeah, we can't march out to. Actually, let's just stay here. Keep people waiting. I don't mind. The thing is, this is a beautiful sport. We love covering this sport.
Yep.
Not just because we get to travel the world with our mates, but we get to produce some hopefully brilliant TV for a bunch of people who love the sport as much as we do. So it's one big happy family, really.
Do you know what? I think the Sky F1 production team is like the Dad's Army team. Bear with me on this. The team of Dad's Army. There's not a duffer on there. Every single character on Dad's Army was perfect. There aren't many TV shows that you can say that. And
so who's the stupid boy then? Is that Johnny Herbert?
Stupid boy, don't tell him, Herbert.
And I'd have Damon Hill as John LeMessurier.
Yeah.
We could go through this and do Dad's Army characters.
That makes you Mannering, you realise, don't you?
No, Martin Brundle's Captain Mannering.
He is,
yes.
Isn't
He is definitely Captain Mannering.
There you go. There's your theme for the feature that you're going to do for Silverstone this year.
You should be on commission.
He is now.
You go. Enjoy the season.
Thank you very much.
I
can't wait.
Natalie, lovely to see you. See you go.
We've now got to go and do a viral video. I don't even know what they are, but Nats is in charge.
Good luck.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site, follow us on Twitter, or to find out about sponsorship opportunities, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!